May 12th, 2020. Lots to go over this week, of course. We have from the UFC, first major sporting event in a while. We have lots of lies to go over, of course. We have CDC stuff to go over, Obamagate, and much, much more. So, what do we got going on here? UFC. We'll start out with that. The thing that makes me happy. It was just happy to see sports back. It's just put a smile on my face just watching it. It was nice. First fight, you saw Ryan Spann, Sam Alvey. Ryan Spann won. It's a pretty close fight. Both guys had some big hits, entertaining. No problem with the way it went down. Two judges had a 29-28 for Ryan Spann, who beat Sam Alvey. Good fight to start out. It was competitive, some excitement. Next fight was Bryce Mitchell was all over Charles Rosa, all over him. Amazing. All three judges gave him every round, of course. I mean, it was significant strikes, takedown attempts. He got him down every round, was trying to submit him, had him a few times really close. So, great fight for Bryce Mitchell. Definitely going to move up to better competition for Charles Rosa. There's a loss. He got dominated for him. Hopefully he learns from it, and he showed a lot of heart. I mean, most people definitely would have tapped out multiple times. So, you got to respect him for that. And next fight, he had Vincent LeCoy versus Nico Price, and Vincent, a New Jersey boy. He won the fight, KO in the third round, about 337. They both had tons of strikes. Nico Price went for a bunch of takedowns, got one of them. But I mean, it was just a good fight. Both guys were swinging at each other, swinging for the fences. Both were cut up pretty good. It was just, I mean, Nico just, wow, he was cut up all over. But it was just a good fight that is entertaining, exciting. Definitely not much downtime. Those guys came out and put it all on the line for us. Very entertaining fight. Like I said, Vincent won, KO, third round. Next fight was the first women's fight of the card. It was Carla Esparza versus Michelle Waterson. So you had the Cookie Monster versus the Karate Hattie. And the judges basically had it's just a weird scorecard. So one judge had it all three rounds for Carla. One judge had all three rounds for Waterson, and then one judge had it 29-28 for Carla. So she won by a split decision. Firstly, like 29-28, it could have gone either way. Me personally, I thought Michelle Waterson won, just because she looked like a little bit more control. Neither one of them was impressive. Neither one of them, at this point, looked like championship material going forward. But I mean, for you to have two judges, one is three rounds one way and one is three rounds the other. I mean, the most decisive round I thought was probably the second one for Michelle Waterson, and then maybe the first and third could have thrown up either way. But that's just some bad. I don't know what fight that guy was watching. He had Fabricio Verdum and Oleski Olenek, and Olenek was just strike after strike. I mean, he got taken down. He got up. He got taken down. He just got away from it. I mean, just good fight for him. He got a three-round decision, split decision. Two cards were 29-28 for him and one 29-28 against him. I thought that was the winner. It was clear cut to me. Verdum's getting up there in age. Actually, they're both pretty old, but good fight, competitive. Not a great fight, but the next fight after that was the last of the prelim, and you had Anthony Showtime Pettis versus Donald the Cowboy Cerrone. And for me, these are both guys that were pretty successful at one time, but they look like they're coming to the end to me, which is crazier for Showtime because he's a bit younger. But they both just look way slower, and maybe it's because we're spoiled at how good they were at one time, but they just both look way slower. Of course, for Cerrone, he was coming off that loss to Conor McGregor. That was an embarrassment to lose that way that quickly. But this fight, they just both look slow. Anthony Pettis got the win 29-28 on all three scorecards. Um, the fight was pretty pretty even. I don't know. I mean, if anything, I thought Cerrone had a chance to win it. I mean, to be honest, but it was a pretty even fight. I think the one part where, and it's probably what won it for Pettis, was he actually poked Cerrone in the eye and then got a few shots in after that when Cerrone was saying he was poked in the eye. But as you know how it goes, if the official doesn't see it, it doesn't happen and the fight continues on. But I think that's pretty much where the fight was lost for Cerrone and it was won for Anthony Pettis. And that was it for the prelims. Still a decent fight, some entertainment value. See guys that, have been true warriors. You got to respect both of them. Um, and then we start off with the main card, which we had Jorgen De Castro versus Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy, former NFL player. He won the fight by decision. All three judges had 30-27. I mean, Jorgen De Castro started out okay. The guy's just, I know they're heavyweights and stuff. They don't have the greatest physique, some of them, but some dudes look powerful. That guy just looks out of shape. I mean, and it looked like he gassed. Just, I don't know. It's time for Hardy's got to step up in competition. I know they might be babying him a little bit to try to keep the namesake alive and stuff. And I mean, it looks like he's gotten better, Hardy, but that's not really much of a test. I mean, yeah. And next fight was Jeremy Stevens against Calvin Kattar. As you heard me speak a long time ago when Kattar first started fighting, this kid looked like he had something. Jeremy Stevens, always tough, a warrior. I mean, he's been in so many epic battles. He's one of those guys, win or lose, doesn't rip you off. Jeremy Stevens. And Calvin won, second round KO. Um, both guys were swinging. I mean, both guys hit each other. Calvin had a knockdown in the fight. Only like a one takedown maybe in the whole fight. I don't even think it got to the ground. Just remember one time I think Calvin got in there, but Jeremy Stevens pushed it away. Good fight, very entertaining. Guys were swinging 2 rounds. I mean, can't ask for more. A good win for Calvin. He can move up, and Jeremy Stevens is just a guy who's going to compete. I don't think he's going to be in title contention, but he's always got, like I said, it's giving you your money's worth, and he's going to be kind of like the gatekeeper, an exciting gatekeeper. I hate to say the phrase for him, but he'll be an exciting gatekeeper, and we'll see if people beat him. They have a legitimate chance of moving up and moving to near title contention. And if they can't beat him, like you'll get some young phenoms and they won't beat him, and they'll have to start over, think of another way to get up. But that's a guy that's always going to give you your money's worth. And like I said, a good win for Calvin Kattar. It validates him right now and make him move up to better competition. Next fight was Francis Ngannou versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and I don't know what the game plan is. Like, it's almost like, and we know that Francis's hero is Mike Tyson, but it's almost like that mentality that people got with Mike Tyson after Mike Tyson was knocking out person after person. Instead of thinking of solid game plan, how are you going to beat him, like the way Cormier fought Francis, that was that's the way you get a good you get a good game plan. You kind of wait it out. You can't go against this guy's strength. He's a pure puncher, and just like I said, like Mike Tyson, you don't come in there and say I'm gonna go power for power and fight with him. You're not gonna do that. You're not going to do that. Sorry, I was just thinking it was troubling me, and I was looking up when I was saying, I know why I was saying Cormier. It was Stipe who fought Francis and just was smart, weighed him around, didn't stay in the punching power. Um, and Derek Lewis kind of did the same thing, and I think Francis was still trying to overcome when he lost to Stipe, and that's Francis's only two losses of his career, I believe. He's like 15-3, so he lost like once early in his career. But as far as UFC, those were Francis's two losses. So you saw that Francis is like Mike Tyson. He's gonna, if he connects, it's gonna be a short night for you. So why would you come in early in the fight and test that? Just start swinging. You gotta get close to him, grapple a little, find a way to avoid those shots, tie him up, tire him out a little bit. So then when he hits you, it's not one and done. Maybe he hits you and yeah, it hurts, but it's still something you can overcome. And as you tire him out, you work him, you get in there, you're grinding with him, you hit him with some of your shots, slow him down. It's survivable and you can find a way to win. But when you're going to go in there, when this guy's fresh, and you think that's your game plan, it doesn't work out good. As Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a game plan until I hit them. And that's kind of what it is for Francis. You've got a game plan, you think you're going to do something, and when he unloads in you early, it doesn't work out well. I mean, his knockout rate's probably 100% if he hits you in the first 2 minutes of a fight, pretty much. If he hits you flush, it's good night. And 20 seconds in, it was good night. It's another win for Francis. I mean, pretty much he's either got to fight the winner of Stipe, Cormier, or if one of them can't fight for whatever reason, then it's going to be Francis fighting for that title. Co-main event, very interesting fight. You had Henry Cejudo, who was a multiple weight class champ, Olympic gold medal winner, fighting Dominic Cruz, who was coming out from a huge layoff. He's had a lot of um, just physical problems, legs, surgeries, a lot of them. Um, and Dominic Cruz has come from long layoffs before and really, pretty much shocked the world. And if he did it again, it wouldn't have been super surprising. But as you get older and the layoffs get longer than he ever had before, that's what my thought process was. And you could tell Dominic was not as sharp as he usually is, just slightly slower. Is that age? Is that the time off? I don't know. Hopefully he comes back soon and fights. That would be nice, and we can see. Um, and it was pretty much Pseudo had him in the first round. Like I said, Dominic looked a little slow. He looked like he was opening up and getting somewhat better. But Dominic bumped him with a head, split Cejudo open, and after that, Cejudo just he saw that blood, and it was just some people panic at that time. But for someone like Cejudo who's been there, it just made him more focused, and he finished Dominic off punch after punch. 458, almost got out of the round. Dominic stoppage. I mean, it was he just was bombing him. Both guys tried to take down each other, which was surprising on Dominic's part for that many takedown attempts, but probably keeping him honest. I mean, he always has a sharp game plan. So, win for Cejudo, and after the fight, he said he's retiring. Um, I don't know how serious he is about that. I think it's more of a money thing. I think if the money's right, he'll come back. He's pretty much hinted at that. But otherwise, he'll be retired. That would be a shame. Hopefully, he can work something out and come back, and hopefully, Dominic Cruz can fight um, in the near future. It would be nice to see him have two fights around without any problems and see how he is, see the jump, see how much is he going to be better, is he the same, is this his new norm, or is he going to be back more towards his old self. um, Not really sure who I'd want Dominic Cruz to fight. You think in a way maybe Farber, but he's already beat the California kid a few times, and they're I know yeah, it's I don't know. Maybe I gotta find somebody else from the fight. As Peter Yan will be fighting somebody not named yet for this belt, the bantamweight title. So that ought to be interesting. Peter Yan looked phenomenal. He fought the California kid Uriah Faber last time, and he looked really good, Peter Yan. So interesting to see who he fights. Um, And for Henry, if that was it, great career. The guy won 2 belts, 2 different weight classes. I mean, he started MMA late. He was an Olympic wrestler, gold medal, like I said. Oh, what else can you say? I mean, combined, like he says he's the most successful, between MMA and wrestling, the most successful fighter ever. If you combine them, and I mean, you really can't argue. And please don't tell me Kurt Angle. I mean, I think Kurt Angle's funny, but not going to count success in the WWE. That's scripted. Sorry. Not going to do it now. Kurt Angle had his chance to come to the UFC, and it never worked out. And in the main event, you had Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje, and that was an all-out war. I mean, Tony Ferguson doing what he does, punching from everywhere, punching all the time, swinging, 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 and Gaethje standing there exchanging leg kicks, and Gaethje just took over in the end of that 5th round, 3:39 in. Gaethje knocked out Ferguson. Um, I mean, Ferguson was bloodied up in a mess. Gaethje looks like he's getting better each fight, and Ferguson looked a little bit slower than normal this fight. I mean, who knows? People said maybe it was a double weight cut because he cut a few weeks ago. Now he's cut. I don't know. It's hard to say. Each person's different. It shouldn't affect somebody if you do it right, but you never know. As far as me, he just didn't look at his best, and Justin Gaethje was his best. So that was the difference. That's why it worked out. That's why it looked like Justin was dominating that fight. And congratulations to him on being the interim champ, and he will hopefully fight Habib soon. Justin's one of those guys that definitely you don't get ripped off. He definitely gives you your money's worth. So that was exciting fight. Exciting to see the fights. Exciting night of sports. And so hopefully we'll get some more soon. And hopefully then some other sports can open up. That's what we gotta say about that. And now, a funny little word from our non-sponsor sponsors.
Are you tired of sloppy, cut-rate funerals? You've tried the rest. Now try the best. The Plots Are Us mortuary service. Remember, there's always plenty of free parking. And don't forget to visit our new salad bar. Plots Are Us.
And that, my friends, is our non-sponsor sponsor. Now, I guess we could say on to the political side, or the more serious side of life. Lies, 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 right? You've learned this week, of course, we all know about General Flynn. Pretty much going to be free. But there were people who went on TV. There were people who were telling you things. They weren't just saying they thought they might. They were telling you they knew and they saw. And if you know something, or you saw something, or you read it first-hand knowledge, you shouldn't be wrong on that. Unless somebody gave you the wrong facts. Or details. I guess they wouldn't be facts if they're wrong, but you would know what you saw. If you read something, if you saw something, if you knew, you should know what it is. It's very interesting how when some of the information came out this week, you had people like John Brennan. We know his history. He's lied before. He said Americans weren't being spied on. That's what he testified on. Well, we know that wasn't true. You had McCabe, who lied multiple times. We already know about that. And then we know about the Honorable James Comey. I didn't know they stacked, that high. But this guy couldn't remember a thing all of a sudden when it was his turn to testify. He's a big talker on Twitter, flapping his gums on the book tour. But when it was his time to shine in the spotlight under the testimony, he didn't remember it much. All of a sudden, he wasn't so confident and cocky. And then we had Clapper. How many times did he go on TV telling you He knew. He knew about Russian collusion. He knew. But it seems that he knew because he saw. He knew because he was told, shown evidence. Now, when Mr. Clapper was under oath, he didn't know anything about collusion all of a sudden. So on TV, he said there was collusion. He said that Putin knows how to handle Trump as an asset, that Trump was an asset of Putin, and Putin knows how to handle him. And again, under oath. Well, Clapper really didn't know anything. Interesting. So, Evelyn Farkas. She's running in Clinton's area. You know, Chappaqua, Ted Kennedy's area, I guess I could say. Running for Congress. Evelyn Farkas. So Evelyn, you know, she said that Trump was going to be destroying the evidence that was against him. She went on TV and talked about this. She said she told senior officials, senior people under Obama, you gotta hide this stuff. You gotta take some with you. You gotta do whatever you can. She said that if Trump's team knew how they got all the information they did on his crimes, it would compromise their sources. So that was about 3 months before she went under oath. So figure 3 months later, when she was under oath, good old Evelyn had amnesia. She didn't remember anything. How would she know what she knew? Well, she didn't know anything. She knew all this information. She saw it. She told people to hide it. And then under oath, mysteriously, she didn't know anything. But I tell you who did know something. Well, that's Barack Obama. Obamagate. You can look it up and find out tons of information about dear old Barack. So let's see. We can do some, everyone wants to know about COVID-19, right? Your N95 mask, which is probably an N45 mask, meaning it doesn't even can stop half of the virus. No guarantee on the mask. Now for me, let me go into my mask theory here. You gotta do what you do. Like what you feel comfortable with, that's gotta be what you're doing. But for me, I don't wear a mask much. I have to wear it at one of my jobs. And I do to respect other people if it makes them feel comfortable. But I try not to wear it long periods of time. I'm going to tell you. Because the two biggest changes in my life that I've made is no biting my nails and don't put my hands near my face. Eyes, whatever. I'm not wearing any contacts. Those are ways you can get infected. So if I put on this mask, I can get infected because it's going to bug my face. It's going to just, make me touch. And when I'm touching more, maybe I scratch a little here, maybe I touch my eye, maybe somehow I come across my nose and get myself infected. So to me, I look at that as a not good, where I know if I don't have a mask, I just can pretty much force myself, don't touch my face, don't scratch an itch, whatever, you have to sneeze, boom, keep it away from yourself, keep it away from others. I'm not touching eyes, touching that. So I can keep myself pretty healthy. It's worked so far, thank goodness. Now, we hear it's all about the virus, right? It's all about the virus. We're in this together. It's like a Hallmark card. We're in this together. So, there are hundreds of questions you can ask, but simple one like, if it's about the virus, how come in certain states gun shop owners cannot have online classes to certify people? They can do it any other time, but during COVID, they were not allowed to hold online classes. Why would that be? You gotta ask yourself. But it's all about the virus. All about the virus. Why are we going in the stores? And I'm sorry to say, but 5-6 hours at night is easily enough to clean the stores, if they say. Why are we going to stores and they're closing earlier and they're opening later, hereby condensing the hours when there's limited stores open, so more people are going to the same stores? Because if you can't go out and eat, you gotta buy more groceries. You're at the grocery stores more. So why would they condense the hours? Because that just means more people are going to be there at the same time. Why would certain stores put you in the same entrance and exit when they have multiple entrance and exits? That makes no sense. If you would have multiple entrance and exits, that spreads it out a little. Yeah, okay, don't tell me you need 2 extra staff members at the other exit and that's going to sink your boat. You got problems. And then your business model. Now, so let's say you wanted to make it even more functional. You have one of your entrance/exits be an entrance and the other one be an exit. So people would be going the same way throughout, only one way in, one way out. That would make sense. But to put everybody together passing each other, right, makes no sense. But there's hundreds of topics. I mean, I could write a whole article about this. It's all about the virus. And then you see things that make no sense. They're putting you in more danger. All about the virus, right? Now we know about California, what they're doing. Closing the beaches. Los Angeles County implemented some of the worst beach closures. Just people, the most people would need to go to the beach there because they're dealing with the warmer of the weather. They're dealing with the less economic situation. That's good. Poorer, put it like that. So they don't have their own pools. They don't have private beaches. They need to go to the public beaches. 1, to cool down. 2, they don't have the money to sit at home all day and crank up the AC. And yet those beaches are closed, but the richer areas, the beaches are open. How does that make sense? Are you saying that poorer people don't behave well? Is that the message we're passing? Or are you just trying to stick it to the people who are sadly in the most need of help? I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. And of course we have New York. Now people that are telling me Cuomo's doing a good job, I mean, do we need to go over what he's done with the nursing homes? I mean, we could skip it. We all know. I mean, he pretty much just sentenced these people to death. Doesn't know how to run a nursing home, much less the state. That was his own call. He could deny it, lie it, whatever. That was it. But the other most egregious thing, which I'd said for a while, is how do we not clean the subways Anybody with common sense knows that's one of your biggest infection areas. It's stated. People know it. Why would you not close it down for an hour here, rotate the cars, and make sure they're clean? Not that hard. If you're a manager, if you're a supervisor, if you're a leader, that's like the basic stuff. Somebody had to tell him that. And if they didn't, then man, he's not hiring the right people. But that's okay. Hey, I heard they used, when they did finally clean those things, I heard they used ultraviolet light. So at least people can make fun of Trump again, right? And of course, we have the fake numbers. We had Virginia, you remember Pennsylvania, where the coroners had to say, wait, this many people didn't die. All over the place. Counting the same person multiple times. Whatever. If it's so bad, why do they need to lie about it? Speaking of lying about it, remember the UK, the epidemiologist Neil Ferguson, Mr. 2+ million people are going to die, the same guy that over predicted deaths in the mad cow disease, and then he thought mad goat disease was coming, yada yada yada. The same guy that people say, this guy's an expert. Well, here's Mr. Expert, who's worried about the lockdown, said so many people are going to die in America and the UK. It's an emergency. And what happens? Well, this dude, who's married, gets caught with somebody else's wife. Now, we already know this guy's a fraud. He said how important it was. Lockdowns, people are going to die. He doesn't even follow his own advice. And of course, some people are misled by the you know what, especially guys, misled by that, but to their own stupidity. But this moron found somebody who's as dumb as himself. His little girlfriend said she was in an open marriage. Okay, whatever, that to each his own. Hopefully her husband knows that. But when she got caught over there, she said that, well, it really doesn't count because we counted as the same household. Oh, I didn't know that's how it worked. And we've all been sitting home in our houses when we could have went to other houses and counted that as the same household. Your neighbor's house, your mistress's house, prostitute down the road's house, or hotel room. It all counts as one. Little did we know. Little did we know. But now we do know. Now we do know. So remember here, we talk about quarantine. And quarantine is sick people basically being made to stay at home. Or quarantining them. And they use that for this case for us. But really, it's just become tyranny. They've kept people that are healthy, restricted their movements, told you can't work, told you can't feed your family, told you can't check up on loved ones who are dying. And now, what is it? What is it we see? Contact tracing. That's the new one. First it was, I'll get back to contact tracing in a minute, but first we need tests. Everyone needs to be tested. So then, of course, you had one of the news networks get caught trying to make the tests look so packed nobody can get in. Look, there's testing sites all over. There are plenty of them. If you want to get tested, you can get tested. I know people that get tested right away. I've seen people drive up places. You've seen medical places close down drive-through testing facilities because nobody was going. The thing of it is let's say everybody gets tested today and they all come back good, or 95% of them come back good, whatever the number is. Doesn't mean you don't have it 2 days from now. So are you going to get tested again? Are you going to go for a test every day? You're going to let them shove that 6-inch Q-tip up each nostril every day? Is that going to take up your entire day? So that's why testing is good in some circumstances. Hey, if you have to go to a situation like maybe a loved one's sick and they're passing away to clear you to go in, maybe testing would be good in that case. Maybe it's good for certain things. If you think somebody's sick around you, hopefully that'll clear you so you don't have to spend 2 weeks. But even that, the testing doesn't know, because if you didn't develop it yet, there's a lot of false positives in the tests. Originally, when the CDC gave out some tests, they actually were laced with COVID, so they infected people with their tests that were poorly put together. Not sure if many people know that, but you can look it up. So tests, I mean, that's it. People are scared to go out, to go to a testing site, because who do you think is going to be at the testing site? Sick people. And that's why people aren't going to the hospital. And we'll talk more about that one later. But contact tracing, I said, we'll get back to that. So, firstly, the most common one in contact tracing, it's basically they have information of people who had it, and then the fact that your phone was near their phone, maybe you were in the same subway car, maybe you were in the same restaurant, maybe you were walking down the same block, whatever the case may be, it'll notify you somebody in your vicinity has COVID. So information, maybe you want to, you can use it for some advantages, but the thing of it is number one, and this is the easiest one, and most realistic people will agree. You know that they are going to abuse this information. You know it's going to be either sold and resold to get information on what you like, what they can advertise to you, so on and so forth. You know this is going to be the case. It always is the case. You're typing an email and all of a sudden, boom. Somebody sends you an email on something and then boom, you get 20 more. That's what's going to happen. We already know this. Once they can collect the information, they can't help themselves but to sell it to somebody else, to use it for themselves, to give it somewhere. So that's going to be the biggest problem. So what contact tracing is something you would use in the beginning of a pandemic. Like if you thought a pandemic was coming at the beginning, when this was coming, if we had this technology, we would use it, and that would kind of tell us where we're at and maybe get over a quarantine quicker and be done with it. But when it's already, lots of people have had it. Some people had it and didn't even know. It's gonna be of little to no value. It just doesn't really have a role at this time. Maybe in the beginning you could set up some perimeters, you could see if there's highly infected areas, use that information to stop a problem, see what you're doing, like obviously putting people in nursing homes that are sick. Hello, shouldn't need that. Testing, contact tracing for that, but just in case, That's it. The testing, going back to that, that's something you can use for nursing homes to see who's going in already. Let's see. We already know that people in nursing homes or hospitals are already compromised. That's where you would need a lot of testing. So CDC numbers, very interesting. 2018 was a hard year for the flu and whatnot. Still more deaths from that than the COVID. But the COVID, we don't know. The numbers fluctuate by a lot, and we'll go over that in a minute or two. I mean, but how many abortions are there every year? How many people die from that? A few years back, I want to say it was 2015. There were 638,139 abortions. So we're stopping a country to save lives. And yet, how many more died? Even 5, 6 times as much died through our own killing. People killed their own kids. 638,000 plus abortions. And we don't stop the country for that. Matter of fact, people laugh and think it's a joke. They think it's funny. They celebrate that. They try to use the fake pretense that's healthcare. 638 babies killed. So what's more of a travesty, COVID-19 or that abortion? You know, there's a lot of things that kill more than COVID-19, and we'll never know, sadly, the real numbers to get a real comparison. But I mean, even in like 2017, over 647,000 people died of heart disease. Whew, barely outpaced abortion. You know, accidents, malignant neoplasms, chronic respiratory, all above 150,000. You know, Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's kills over 115,000 in the year 2016 and 2017 each year. Alzheimer's disease. Do we close the country down for that? I know it's not the same thing, obviously. It's not something you catch from one to another, but these are deaths. Are we looking into them? Does anybody care? Is anybody taking any good measures? Diabetes, over 80,000 a year. Influenza and pneumonia, well over 50,000 each year. 2018, it was like 80,000. And the problem is, like I said, we'll never know the real COVID numbers. But interesting thing, very interesting thing, you'll know. And from the CDC's own website, right? The CDC case counts and death counts include both confirmed and probable causes of death. Confirmed and probable. Already stretching it here, you see? This change was made to reflect an interim COVID-19 position statement. Why do we need a position statement? Why don't we just get the actual facts? Does that make any sense? Does that make sense to you? It doesn't to me. The position statement included a case definition and made COVID-19 a national notifiable disease. Okay, that part I understand, national notifiable disease. Even though others that are more significant are not. Maybe they should have a bell ring every time an abortion happens, so it won't be the angel getting its wings, it'll be a baby getting killed. A confirmed case or death is defined by meeting confirmatory laboratory evidence for COVID-19. So, okay, that sounds reasonable. A probable case or death is defined by one of the following: meeting clinical criteria and epidemiological evidence with no confirmation laboratory testing performed for COVID-19. So how do we meet clinical criteria, epidemiological evidence with no laboratory confirmation? So basically, it's a death if you say it's with COVID-19. Meeting presumptive laboratory evidence and either clinical criteria or epidemiological evidence. So it kind of just repeats the same thing, but presumptive laboratory evidence. So meaning I took what I needed to take the test, but I don't have an answer for the test, but it's presumptive that since I took it, it's going to be COVID-19. Is that the way that works? Because that's kind of what it sounds like to me. Well, yeah, I'm testing them for COVID-19, so we'll just mark it down until we hear otherwise. Well, we know what problems that's going to lead to. Meeting vital records criteria with no confirmatory laboratory testing performed for COVID-19. So what is meeting vital records criteria? I think that's what police do with tickets sometimes. That's called meeting a quota? That's what it sounds like to me. That we have to meet a quota. So we'll just mark down a few. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get us back in the game. Hey, bub, you only wrote out 10 tickets this month. Every other officer's at 30. I'm not saying you have to write out any, but I'm just letting you know. Oh, great. Ting, 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 COVID deaths. So I've already seen how sketchy that is. They just want you to believe any number they put out, and even then they're getting caught lying. And then you see how loose the numbers are anyway, where there's not many people to challenge most of this information. So you have the accuracy of data, and this is all, like I said, from the CDC website. CDC does not know the exact number of COVID-19 illnesses, hospitalizations, and death for a variety of reasons. I'm sure honesty is one of them, but COVID-19 can cause mild illness. Symptoms might not appear immediately. There are delays in reporting and testing. Not everyone who is infected gets tested or seeks medical care, and there may be differences in how states and territories confirm numbers in their jurisdictions. Now, how are there any differences? If you don't have the evidence, it's not what it is. That's a standard. You can't assume somebody has it. So I understand you not knowing how many cases, but it says they don't know the hospitalizations and deaths, so they don't know when people are hospitalized with COVID, and they don't know the deaths from it. They should. I understand you don't know the illnesses. Some people don't even know they have it. But when somebody dies, they should know what it's from. If they check into a hospital, you should know why. Hey, there's some dude in the gurney. What are you doing here? You've been here for 3 weeks. It'll be like that guy in Office Space. He's been there for years and he hasn't got a check. Now you're gonna steal his red stapler. Maybe they'll steal your I don't even want to say it. I'll just skip that joke. But, they'll steal whatever from you at the hospital. So obviously we know this is ridiculous. There are delays in reporting and testing. Okay, so they're saying they put numbers down. It's not. If there are delays, there should be no numbers there. Let's see. State and local public health departments are now testing and publicly reporting their cases. In the event of a discrepancy between CDC cases reported by states, should be considered. Did I read that wrong? Because it didn't seem right. In the event of discrepancy between CDC cases and cases reported by state and local public health offices, data reported by states should be considered the most up to date. So the CDC numbers really mean not much. That's what they're telling you. They're whatever they want to be. And that's why you've seen coroners saying, wait, this makes no sense. So you look at your COVID deaths. Big states, you have some big states. And a lot of them, it's the same problem. They push sick people in nursing homes. They did not have preventative measures in nursing homes. They have people that are supposed to be in charge of nursing homes, and they didn't do their job. They failed across the board. I mean, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New York, 3 of the bigger states that have problems. Massachusetts, right? 60% of their deaths were just from nursing homes. Minnesota, 67% of their deaths are just from the nursing homes. Over 350 of the 613 nursing homes in New York have had multiple COVID deaths. 350 different nursing homes. If those areas would have been controlled, literally 50% of the deaths would have been off the board. And now think about the danger we've put ourselves in. More deaths from suicide because of COVID. You know the number's going up. 150,000 Americans get cancer per year. Will these people ever get checked? I mean, it's 2 months now. Most people aren't getting the screenings they need. So how many of those people are going to go undetected and die? The last 2 months, barely anybody's gone in and got checked for these. 80% of brain surgeries, not happening. 80% of organ transplants. So how many people are going to die from organ failure when an organ was there and ready? They can't get it or they're too scared to get it. How many kids aren't getting immunized because they're not going to go to these places, their doctors, hospitals, for fear of getting sick? And now they're going to come down with some other sickness. Hey, maybe if we're lucky, they'll throw that on the COVID count and it'll all be alright. Then they could say it didn't affect any other count. As you see the numbers in count, other diseases have been cured miraculously. Since COVID is the answer to every other disease, it's almost stopped them all. Wink, wink. Urgent care business down 40% across the board. You know, EMTs are being furloughed. Even in states like Arizona, right here in Arizona, EMTs are being furloughed because of the lack of business. We'll never know the true deaths. We'll never know the full effect that this has. We won't know that. You know, some of the other headlines, WikiLeaks lists 65 reporters, obviously, were mainstream reporters. We're meeting with Hillary advisors. We already know that happened, but that's come up. An interesting one that really got no publicity from a guy who was pretty popular. You know, Colonel Alexander Vindman. Remember him? Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman? Well, you know, Vindman had a discussion about the corruption, Trump and Ukraine. But Vindman clarified, and here's another one. This should almost went in the first part of the show. Vindman, under oath, clarified his testimony that the president did not bring up the topic of rooting out corruption during his phone call, but he included it in a summary of the call. So basically, Vindman was on the phone and Trump didn't even say anything about it. So he said in his testimony that it wasn't accurate. He said everything Trump said was consistent with U.S. policy. So basically, this is the guy they trotted out, was telling you about corruption, Ukraine, and this and that. And here he goes, under oath, and the story changes. Isn't that funny? The story doesn't stay the same. Is that because it's a lie? Because the truth usually stays the same. Should. Most of it. Or is it because they don't want to be in trouble for crimes they commit? And another player that we forget in the, not a soft coup, but the big coup trying to take down Trump, none other than Democrat, and I do say Democrat, or liberal, or traitor to his country, friend of Mittens Romney, Paul Ryan. Don't think for a minute we don't know what he did. This guy was on the other side. This guy was trying to take down Trump. We know you're out there, Paul. And please, that being said, please stop telling us how right-wing Fox is. It's a joke. Paul Ryan's over there. Please. Please. Remember Obamagate. Remember Obama targeted conservatives with the IRS. He went after journalists. He spied on them. Ones that didn't put the red carpet down for him. He went after his political opponents. He spied on them. Who was his cohort there? Who was his buddy? Joe? Oh, Joe didn't know? Maybe Joe didn't know, but I can tell you what, he doesn't remember now. But either way, Joe was supposed to be there. He was supposed to be the guy with the experience. This guy that's supposed to be looking out for America. He didn't do anything but look out for himself. That's all he did. Hey, did you see that math scores in the U.S. have collapsed? Oh, what's the reason? Common Core? Yeah, that's right. Because Common Core isn't that common after all. Everybody knows quickest way from A to B is the straight line. But in Common Core, you make a half a circle, a semicircle, 3/4 of a circle, a zigzag, a Z. You make everything but that straight line. And that, my friends, is why math scores have gone down in the U.S. Another one on the under testimony. Good old John Podesta, who you would think would be in jail because he did what Paul Manafort did. What's really the difference between Paul Manafort, who did commit a crime, and Obama knew about it and did nothing, and then all of a sudden when it was convenient because he thought he was going to get Trump, he was concerned about Manafort's crime. But fair enough. He should be in jail. He committed a crime, Manafort. But Podesta and his brother did the same thing. Why aren't they in jail? But Podesta, under oath, said that the DNC and Hillary Clinton split the cost of the dossier. The dirty dossier they had against Trump. Dossier, whatever you want to say it. But he said, him and Hillary had said before on TV, they had no knowledge that Perkins Gold paid for the Trump-Russia dossier. Under oath, he knew about it. Not shocking that Hillary lied or Podesta lied. I'm just saying, it's amazing how when these people are under oath, it's different. You know, they should get recordings of this, all testimony, and play it so people could see. You're not going to believe me? Okay, believe their own words. It's right there. That's it. Well, my friends, that's going to be it for this week of the Reality Check. Hopefully you had a good time. And we'll be back when we can. Thanks and have a safe evening.